Hey, hi. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Welcome back. Uh, there's a lot of new people too, though. So, party on. Welcome. Uh, welcome double time to the party. And we are on the not eve, dawning, I don't know. It's gonna happen soon. A new moon in Capricorn. And contrary to what is typically true, I guess, of new moons as sort of dark moons and a sort of occlusion of. It is an entire miss by mere degrees. I guess that's true for just about anything. But the exact degrees reoccur in 6 months and at the end of the year, which is very interesting given the wheel of cards that I pulled for the year. So, you know, there's that if you're into it. But with the miss of the moon, I suppose, I don't know, there's all kinds of similar articles, I suppose. But it's a imbalance in the orbit. And with Neptune in retrograde, I don't feel like that's a coincidental language. I feel like that's very much what I've gathered a lot of people are also feeling. With all that being said, it does make it the most illuminated moon rather than the darkest, or the darkest night, which is interesting. It's kind of a whole new face of somebody we thought we knew maybe really well and weren't expecting that. And you know what? That actually may have happened to you already with just the way people are choosing to move into the future with all of this pressure and with a heavy Taurus energy, Uranus retrograde. That Capricorn moon energy, the moon and the sun are together with Mars and Mercury, and I think that makes for a very moody place. It's almost like with all of this focus on boundaries and limitations, you can find yourself very easily irritated or annoyed, or finding those boundaries being like crossed often, so you find yourself barking more, I suppose. I think all of that energy also is very much these pointed squares. The sun and the moon are squaring Chiron in Aries, and Mars and Jupiter are also squaring, and are also squaring the moon in their own way. I also think they're fucking around with Saturn energy and sort of like a sidekick kind of way. Like, you know how in video games you get to sort of pick a character to join you on a mission, and there's usually something that they can add to it. I feel like that's very much what's going on, but it's almost like back pocket, which is funny because I feel like any gems I've been like, keep that in your back pocket for later. Not that I am Saturn. And there's also a general Libra Aries polarity. You know, North Node, South Node, a new horizon, a new energetic pull in, you know, action and memory in the ways that we assume energy to take on a frequency or to take on a flow, or, you know, you assume an idea to take on a project, you assume a person to take on a persona, and find out that those are actually limitations and can often be wrong. So, you know, maybe annoyances and judgment surprise us with some interesting lessons. Chiron and the North Node being in alignment, I think, is interesting because this isn't a comfortable transition, and I feel like that's very much well, for some people that may be, you know, like go with pain, go with war. I do feel like that's like step into your shadows, very much like a beckoning to go into your darkness to fully understand, in a very literal way. That's a confrontation and like a confronting of, and that very much will have to exist within you, um, if you find that existing in, I mean, it'll exist in you regardless. But if you find that existing very much in other people, that's also like an opportunity to excavate that material and find out why it's so easily disturbed. You know, why we kick up so much sediment, why we spray dust in our own eyes. With all that being said, what an interesting moon. Go Capricorn. There's a lot of shenanigans. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of squaring. And the first words that came to mind with it was a lot of pointed squares, like daggers. And it makes me think of that Fall Out Boy song. But I think we ought to know them. That does not necessarily mean they have to be used. Sometimes the most dangerous fighter is the one that doesn't want to fight, or the one that seeks other options first. So we are going to pull some cards because of the secrets of the party at this new moon Capricorn party. I do, that was a thought that came into my head. I do feel like this Uranus retrograde is very much like the theme or the guest of honor of the party. And the moon is very much like the planner of it, or like is maybe the secretary for all of the planning, but is like very much the idea guy of this. That everybody's sort of filtering through, or they're taking everybody else's ideas to like make a spreadsheet out of. So we pull some cards and we'll take some breaths because there's a lot of things going on. And why not? Lovely. My friends, much like we are hanging out and reading cards together, and like there are cards in between us, we're going to take 3 deep breaths together, in which you'll take a big inhale, and on that exhale, sort of imagine that there's a shadow card revealing itself to you. I'll often have people put their hands over the cards, so you can make your hands available to you however you are. And yeah, we'll take 3 deep breaths. Take a deep breath in. And exhale your shadow card. Take a deep breath in. And exhale your shadow card. Take a deep breath in. And exhale your shadow card. Okay. I do feel like energy is much more focused on like the product more so than the process. Lacking structure, but like full of enthusiasm to work or move or whatever. There's very much weight, more so in the way that we're communicating, the way that we are shaping our beliefs around things, around ourselves, around our lives, etc., etc., and how we connect to those things. So, while, okay, there, I mean, 100% I've seen that in like people converting religions and but like for me personally, that looks more like you know, making sure I get ample yoga time, and not in that it is a certain amount, but that it feels thoroughly good. That there's rest also, and like deep breath, and I mantra my way through the world. And I think that I guess takes the place of, you know, like devoting yourself to something else. But I devote myself to taking that time. It's like a lot of pressure for ideas, and a lot of, and that's very much like the actionary personhood of this. Isn't like making moves, is maybe more anxious about making moves, but is like feeling all of that pressure about communicating it. Whereas the, honestly, maybe much more the groundedness of that idea. You know, what breathes life into that idea, what inspires that idea, so that, you know, it can get off the ground. In our, you know, in more intuitive side is circling around moving. Like, I think it's like waiting for the, you know, helicopter parent and the anxiety in us to step aside, so that it can, so that you can just move through inspiration, so that you can just move through flow, so that you can just move through, you know, what feels good. Kind of exactly like I said, it's not about, you know, the length of time or anything, but it is about, you know, how thoroughly I feel involved in it. Oh wow, that's funny. Didn't even pull a card yet. Bam. Oh. Bam. Oh, bam. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Bottom of the deck is the Star. We're going to get to that in a second. The Seven of Swords was the first thing that popped up. Queen of Pentacles in the Tower. The Seven of Swords very much lends itself to options overwhelm, to-do lists, tasks. I feel like that's even like too many people taking your attention, or too many things taking your attention. We stretch ourselves too thin in this card. Not that we have to. I think it can be a sense of belief in self. Like, I think when you're very aware of what you need and what you want and why is the ultimate reason, because we can make excuses for ourselves all day about why we need this and when. But when we know the root cause of that need, we can navigate either with or through or without that need, and because, or without that thing, because that need will find its meeting elsewhere. It's like finding other ways to water your plants. And plants do this. They find other ways to get their nutrients. Carnivorous plants don't eat blood or meat. They're getting the same nitrogen and phosphorus from the soil, just through a different route. It's very, very much that. This has come up actually in another context. It's funny that plants come up because the Queen of Pentacles being here, while these other cards are like seemingly desolate. Maybe not seemingly, they're quite desolate. There's definitely a fog in the air. There's definitely a thick fog in the air. And the moodiness of the weather is a whole other story. But those plants start to grow and thrive and vine naturally in this Queen of Pentacles card, despite these desolate circumstances. Very much like R.I.P. Tupac or Rose Out of Concrete. I 100% think that that will come even inside the Queen of Pentacles sleeves is a void or a doorway. And very much that is the going into your darkness that I said earlier. But that's also the ways in which we create choice in our own circumstances by controlling, by being able to identify, not control, but by being able to identify and honor our emotions and how they want to emote, and why. You know, because your wounded inner child wants to emote in an aggressive way because of, you know, something traumatic. The aggression in and of itself isn't the main issue, isn't the root issue. It's a symptom of an issue. That's also why the Tower is here, because we're going to excavate these things, pull back on them, or not pull back on them, follow them to the core. Like isn't there, like when you're like spelunking, you always have like a tether line or something? I don't know, but the tower will fall. The tower is inverted. The tower will crumble, and truth will be revealed from that. It's also oddly true of like tunnel systems that people find in interesting places. And that's very much like an intravenous network of, you know, the city of you know, where of our geographical area, but also very much how our internal system works. In the same way that leaves are innovated to the roots. So we've got some manicuring to do to our own little bonsai trees so that we aren't feeding dead leaves, because this is very much why this is inverted, because we are feeding dead leaves with our emotional effort, with our focus, with our energy. And when you overwater a plant and it's got all these dead leaves, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to continue to rot. Or, I mean, even if it's not overwatered, when you have all of this extra dead foliage, it's absorbing nutrients that the healthy plant needs. So you have to sort of shed some skin. The star being here is very much in that shedding of a skin, of any skin, or in that peeling back, the same way that you know, plant life means fertile soil, means things can live here, means discovery of life, means possibilities, you know. When we reveal, we lose that skin, or we lose that excess, we lose those dead leaves, we reveal new potential, new possibilities. We reveal a new shine, we reveal a luminescence. And this is also why this is a new moon that is very much the most illuminated, and why it sort of marks milestones throughout the year, in the progression of the way that we are going to step into viewing ourselves and understanding the potentiality of that. Cool. Party. Numbers. Let's do that. Da 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 da. I really hope. The star is also a piece of a constellation. And I think that that is very much how there's versions of ourselves that we may be nostalgic about. But there's also pieces of that version of self that we never really, that we didn't need to bring with. I mean, pieces that we did. And so this is also kind of that situation. You don't have to become so new that you're unrecognizable to yourself. In fact, the idea is to become so new that you recognize yourself even more. And I do feel that very much so about anything change something in my appearance, which for me will look more like modifications than, you know, cutting my hair or dyeing it or anything. But it always feels like it's what I always looked like. And I think a lot of people maybe don't necessarily feel that, but can resonate with that, or can resonate with how it feels much more like they stepped into themselves after a situation or a circumstance or what have you. So, the stars speaking to that. Okay. Much like we are hanging out, my friend, and much like there are cards in between us, take 3 deep breaths with me, please, so that we can tap in to the moon. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale your shadow card. I hope that for whoever this is resonating for, that gives you a little bit more of an idea of what kind of parameters you want to put, or like to install in yourself, not put around yourself, but to install for yourself. Or gives you a little bit more clarity in that. It does feel like things are a little bit more tangible, more identifiable. Like we can actually embrace what's happening. And that may look like a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical, but it is very well-rounded and palpable. Again, what the star beckons is what we will bring forward. Because though we are the source of our own light, it illuminates so many things for, like, down the path for yourself, for other people. You know, that's why there's lampposts, because safety or what have you. I think that's maybe a way to think about it. Like, rather than the milestones that we were told to have, or told that we needed to progress, what lampposts guide you in unsure journeys? You know, what is a small bit of illumination for you to be able to count on? You know, and that's, you know, friends, or, you know, different support groups or communities that we're involved in. That's very much like self-care little habits, or things that just make you laugh truly, and things that make you feel at ease, and things that make you feel like you don't have to censor yourself, and that you can create without judgment of yourself. King of Diamonds at the bottom of the deck is very much not judge or juror. Exactly that. Like, this very much speaks to that. We're moving from the 6 of Hearts to a 10-7 and a King, which is it's maybe feels or sounds like a regression in, like, trajectory or in path, in the same way that the moon is very much, you know, imbalanced in its orbit, or this, you know, overall fog that I've talked about. However, rather than worry about exactly the, like I was talking, the time or the distance traveled, how fulfilling is the moment. And, you know, if not, then what do we do to fill it with something that feels a little bit more pleasurable? The 6 of Hearts is this older character on it, and it makes me laugh because older generations also care less about judgment and are more interested in their freedom to embrace their own intuition and their own stylistic choices and their own reasonings and reckonings in a lot of way. They're kind of over putting up with the bullshit. Gosh, all right, I'm really struggling with the phone memory. We're gonna have to figure out like a live time that works for everybody or something, or for most people. But anyway, Ten of Wands is very much about the journey, but not necessarily where it's going, but where our focus is taking us. Very much that. Not about where we're planning on going, but where our focus is taking us. Because we may be planning on going somewhere, but our focus is taking us in exactly the opposite direction. That may be true of, relationships and, wanting to move on and wanting to separate and like not taking the actions that explain that. Like we're talking aligning in that context, but also in a very real way. If you're on a road trip to one direction, but all you can focus on is, getting away and nothing going wrong because everything has, you kind of bring that energy with you, and you frustrate the mind, and you'll probably read the map wrong and yada yada yada, or take a wrong turn, and then you're mad at Siri for not telling you to turn right fast enough, when instead we can refocus. The Seven of Spades that follows this is internalizing focus. Focus isn't on anyone or anything. Focus is on where the energy goes and how it feels. This is very much a sacred place. I think this is what Meta is doing with the like main, or like the like home screen room or whatever that you can create. I've never used it, but it's also very literally what a lot of meditations teach, is to find this safe space or safe room, or sort of safe box for you to put worries away and feel unattacked and unfazed by this world, I suppose, and be able to not take it with you to astral dreaming, to your meditation, to a healing ceremony or what have you, so that in fact you can leave it in that moment, and again, cut dead leaves rather than bring withering away to something that's supposed to breathe life. Breathing life to dead dreams in that way, but it does come with a little bit of shaking off of the things that didn't work. The King of Diamonds is very much not only the person that can research that and take all of these steps, but will be able to more fluidly speak it, like in actuality, better. Because once these things are aligned, your thought process and the way that you're feeling about it, where your heart wants versus what your mind wants, and you're not feeling so out of body about whatever this Seven of Swords is consistently bringing, or is bringing in multiple directions. The King of Diamonds ultimately is a person who is so aligned that it's not even a loss to rid themselves of these things, because they have an eye and focus and goal on the kind of world that they want, on the kind of thing that they want to represent, on the kind of message that they want to send and speak. Oh, interesting. I just caught that like too perfectly. I wish I caught that on camera. But I feel like I'm a little redundant now. And I'm also fighting with this, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Happy new moon. May it illuminate your darkest path so that you can find your way above unsureness, and your way above the worry. Love you. And until next time, party on, and much love.